This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so uh, let's have the overview of what we have discussed till now before we go further and see some of the things in the system directly. So we understood central finance is one of the deployment option which can be used by the customers who are planning to move to SAP S/4HANA. The other two options are they can go for the new implementation or they can go for the system conversion. So mainly those big corporates who are having multiple different ERP, non-ERP systems in their current landscape, and for whom it is very difficult to migrate each and everything to S/4HANA in one go, normally those are the companies who would prefer to go for the central finance deployment option. Now, central finance deployment option means you have one, or definitely it is not going to be one, you have many SAP or non-SAP systems in your landscape, okay, and you want to continue to do your transactions in those SAP and non-SAP systems itself, but in real time you want to replicate that data to SAP S/4HANA system, which will be called as a central finance system. Why? Because each and every document that you post in this SAP or non-SAP systems, financial documents, they will replicate to the central finance system, which means in your central finance system, you will be able to see each and every document which is coming from the source systems. Okay, ultimately, if every financial document is available in your central system, you will be able to perform the financial operations. For example, you'll be able to mainly the consolidation, maybe the analytical reports which are provided by SAP S/4HANA. So those reportings will become very easy in the consolidated system. Okay, that is exactly what we discussed. Our source system can be SAP ECC, SAP R3, or even non-SAP systems also. Our target system must be SAP S/4HANA system, obviously with HANA database, because S/4HANA doesn't comes with any other database. So central finance system must be SAP S/4HANA system. And who will perform this replication, which is a tool that we are going to use in between our source system and our central finance system. So it is SAP SLT replication server. SAP SLT stands for System Landscape Transformation. Within SLT, there are a lot of functionalities which are provided by SLT, but the functionality that we are going to use of SLT is replication. We want to replicate the data from the source system to the central finance system in real time. Okay, so what we will do today is, instead of going through the slides, there are a lot of things which you also need to understand from the slides also. But parallelly, what I will do is, whatever we have discussed till now, I will try to show you in the system. Okay, and then again, we'll go back to slides as well as our SAP systems. So number one, what are we going to do in this particular course? How are we going to see how the central finance works? So for that, we have two different servers. Okay, number one is SAP ECC system, and number two is SAP S/4HANA system. This ECC system will be treated, maybe if you are getting confused, let me just change this to, this is my source system. SAP ECC is my source system, and SAP S/4HANA is my central finance system, which means I want to replicate the data posted in this ECC source system to SAP S/4HANA central finance system. Okay, now in order to do that, you already know I need the SLT also in the picture. I may also need MDG in order to do the mappings, right? So we will try to understand with this setup, how are we going to use SLT? What are the things that we need to configure in the source system? What are the things that we need to configure in the central finance system? How the SLT will take place, and where exactly these systems are placed. Okay, so just a quick recap, or maybe just a quick go through of the systems that we are going to use. So number one, let me open the ECC system, which is my source system. Okay, so this is my source system. If you want to see the details of the source system, you can go to system status. Okay, just to verify which EHP is being used in this particular system. So you can see this is SAP. Let's go to SAP underscore APPL. You can see SAP underscore APPL 618, which means this is SAP ECC 6.0 EHP 8 system that we are using as a source system. Okay, and since it is already SAP ECC 6.0 and above, most of the things apart from the central finance notes are already available in this system. So in order to prepare this SAP ECC EHP 8 system, we just need to apply some SAP notes which are required in order to activate the central finance in the source system. Okay, because the source system is going to send the data, we need to prepare the source system so that it can be used in the central finance replication. Right, I'll provide you the list of notes. You don't need to remember the notes by heart. If you just keep it somewhere, it is available already in my slides. So if you just remember those SAP notes, that is enough. Okay, because anyways, this is the task which is going to be performed by your technical team. Okay, but once the SAP notes are applied, how will you verify that whether this system is already ready to be used as a central finance replication system or not, as a source system or not? So number one, you will perform two different tests in order to verify that this system is ready to be used as a source system or not. Number one, you will go to transaction CFIN IMG, Central Finance Implementation Guide. Right? If you just press enter, you'll be able to see the Central Finance source system settings. And under one, there is only one thing that you will be able to see is general settings. Now, due to some reason, if you are using the source system, which is not EHP 8 or maybe not EHP 7, if it is something EHP 4, EHP 5, which is not having the latest service pack, for example. So you may not be able to execute this CFIN IMG transaction. In that particular case, in order to come to this screen or in order to come to this particular node, okay, ultimately we want to configure this node. So if this node is not available to you through CFIN IMG, in that case, you can do another thing. You can go to table. So I'm going to SM30 in order to open the table. And there is one important table here called as vcfin underscore source underscore set. vcfin underscore source underscore set. No need to by heart all these things. They are already provided in my PPT. Okay, so if you click on this and go to maintain, it will also open the same thing. So if you are already using the latest service pack, you can directly go to transaction CFIN IMG. If you are not using the latest service pack, if you are not using the latest upgrade which is available from SAP, in that case, you will, after applying the SAP notes, obviously, so applying the SAP notes is required even if you are using the latest service pack or the old service pack. But after applying those SAP notes, it may happen that you are not able to see this transaction at all. Okay, so in that case, you can directly come to the table and from here you have to configure. So vcfin underscore source underscore set is also taking you to the same screen where you need to configure the source system. Okay, we will understand this. As of now, no need to worry about this. We will just after 15-20 minutes, we will come to this screen and we will try to understand each and everything what we need to configure here. So this is first check that you have to perform. If this is working, then you will be 100% sure that yes, I'm able to see some central finance related transactions in this system. So most probably my SAP nodes, which are required to be implemented in the source system, are already implemented. Check number two that you need to perform is go to transaction SE80. Okay, so there is a package, this package. Again, this is a technical object, but if you have the access to SE80, just go and verify that this package already exists or not. Again, this package will only come when you apply the central finance related SAP notes. Okay, so what exactly is this package? So all the functionality which is provided by central finance, most of those functionalities, most of those tables, most of those programs that we are going to use Okay, everything is available under this package. Okay, this is a technical object, so you go to SEAT, here you select package, and just remember this, again this is provided in my PPT, so you just need to come here and you need to search for this, whether this is already available or not. If it is not available, then definitely there is something wrong. Your technical team has not implemented the SAP notes. Either he forgot to be implemented or maybe he has not implemented completely, right? So this package should be available here. Now, once this package is available, let me just quickly show you what this package contains. So you can see in this package, there are various different objects. Okay, you can see the transactions. So these are nothing but the transaction codes. We already seen this, which means if this package doesn't exist, even you will not be able to use this transaction, right? So there are some transactions. We will see later on why these transactions are required. In addition to the transactions, if you go to dictionary objects, you'll be able to see different tables which are related to central finance, which are required in the source system. So if you see the list of tables, there are many tables which will be included as soon as you apply this SAP notes in your source system. Okay, so for example, if I go to this particular table and try to execute the information, okay, obviously when you are implementing for first time, if you have still not executed any uh, replication, or if you have still not done the configurations properly, this table will be completely blank. But since this system is already live, some of the transactions are already posted, that is the reason I'm able to see the values in these tables. Okay, so if you are doing this for the first time, obviously all these tables will be blank, and based on the configurations that you are doing, based on the company codes that you are activating, you will be able to see the data in these tables. Each table has its own purpose, similar to the other tables in SAP. So while going forward, whenever we need a particular table, we will come to that table and we'll see what data is being stored over there. So you have database tables, you have views, okay, table types. So in short, all the technical objects related to the central finance functionality will be available as soon as this package is available in the source system. Okay, just try this out. If you are using SAP ECC system today, okay, and just go to SEAT, by default, if you are not using central finance, or if it is not already SAP notes are not implemented, then you will not be able to see this package at all. This package will only come once you apply the corresponding SAP notes. Okay, so this is just to verify whether my source system is ready to be used as a central finance system or not. If you are able to see this package, if you are able to see the transaction code CFIN IMG, most probably most of the settings are already done. There can be some small settings which are creating the problem, and then SAP will provide additional SAP node, but majority of the SAP nodes, if they're implemented, then only you'll be able to see this particular activities. Okay, so now let's talk about, if my source system, what are the settings that I need to do in the source system? Okay, we have clearly seen that if I'm going to CFIN IMG, the only IMG activity, the only configuration that I need to perform here is this general settings. It is not showing me any other activity at all in the source system. Whatever other activities I need to do, I need to perform in the either in the SLT or in the central finance system. So in the source system, the only activity that I need to perform is this one, general settings. Now, what exactly is this? If you open this, you can see customizing of central finance source system. What exactly are we doing here? There can be multiple company codes in your current source system. Let's say you are using a source system in which there are 10 company codes. Now, is it necessary that all these 10 company codes will participate in central finance? May not be, right? I want to only replicate the data of the 5 company codes. Remaining 5 company codes, I will look at the report in my source system itself. Okay, so it is up to the customer which company codes should participate in the central finance, which company codes data will be replicated to the target system. So this is a place where you need to come and you need to activate those company codes for which you want to transfer the data in the real time. right? Now you will enter the company code here, and then you can see there are a lot of other activities or a lot of different fields that you need to maintain. Now, before I explain you all these fields, let me introduce one new terminology which you may not have heard in our sessions till now. Okay, so from day one, we are talking about the real-time replication. What do you mean by real-time replication? Real-time replication means as soon as transaction, or to be very specific, accounting document is posted in source system, it will automatically trigger replication in central finance. Okay, so this is nothing but a real-time replication. So as soon as anything is done in my source system, any accounting document is posted, it will automatically get replicated to my central finance system. But in addition to the real-time replication, we also need to perform one more thing, and this is one-time activity that we need to perform before we start using the real-time replication, and that is called as initial loading. What do you mean by initial loading? Let's take an example. When you go for any SAP implementation projects, forget about S/4HANA or ECC. So you configure the company codes, you configure the different business processes, and before you give the access to the end user to perform the first transaction in SAP, we have to perform some legacy data or cutover data migration. What is that cutover data migration? So before you can start using the system, before you start posting day-to-day transactions, we may need to transfer the balances from the previous years or from the previous months which were posted in the source system, right? Not only the transactional data, but even the master data. Otherwise, how will we carry out the transactions in the new system if there is no master data? So we need to transfer the master data. We need to transfer the transactional data. We call it as a cutover activity. Okay, what is the purpose of the cutover activity? So that before the day-to-day transactions are started, all the data that you want to see, which was posted in your legacy system, that should be migrated to the SAP system. Same way, before you start replicating the real-time data, okay, let's assume I am implementing central finance and my central finance will be live from 1st of October. Okay, so from 1st of October, whatever documents will be posted in my source system, they should get replicated into my central finance system. But before that, I am using SAP, or maybe I'm using the non-SAP system, the source system that we are talking about from last 3 years. So before I start the real-time replication, the question is, this question you have to ask the customer, do you want the posted data that you posted in the legacy system also to be transferred as an initial balance, as an initial loading? If yes, you have to ask him, okay, how many years of data do you want us to transfer? Do you want to transfer all 3 years of data, or only last 1 year of data, or only few months of data? So central finance provides you the option to do the initial loading. Initial loading means transferring that data which was posted previous to implementing the real-time postings, real-time replications in central finance. So in our example, if we are starting from 1st of October, after 1st of October, whenever I do any transaction in the source system, it will get replicated to central finance system automatically. But what about the data which was posted before October? So for that data, I have to carry out the initial load. Okay, so there are two kinds of transfers which will be happening in the central finance. Number one is initial load, and number two is replication. So your initial load must be completed or should be completed. There is no technical prerequisite to it, but you should complete the initial load first, and then only you start doing the real-time replication. So initial load is the activity which will come one time whenever you are implementing the central finance in your company. Once your initial loading is completed, then whatever replications will be done, that would be real-time replications. Okay. So whenever you are implementing the central finance in the source system, you have to tell very clearly how much data you want to load from the initial balances which are available. Okay, and that is exactly what you are doing here. If you come to this configuration, you can see, maybe let's create a new entry. So let's assume I'm taking the standard company code, which is 1710. Okay, so I want to make this company active for central finance, which means going forward, any transactions posted in this source company code will move to central finance. But whatever transactions are already posted, so I have to specify which transactions from which date will be considered in my initial load. So all the settings that you are able to see here, this 1, 2, 3, these are related to the initial loading. Okay, so you can see what it is asking is start year for the balances. So it may happen that you don't want to transfer all the line items. You only want to transfer the balances of few years. So for example, I'll tell the system that in this example, let's assume this company has implemented SAP SAP ECC system in 2017. So there are some lines in 2017, there are some lines in 2018, there are some lines in 2019, and there are some lines in 2020 up to 9th month. Right? So this is a period and this is a year. Now, as I told you, there is a question. The question is for 2017, you want to only migrate the balances or you want to migrate the line items also. So first line, I'll say this is yes for balances and no for lines. I don't want to migrate lines. Of 2017, I don't need 2017 data. If required, I can go to the source system and I can get that information. So I don't want to unnecessarily replicate the line item level of 2017. Same way, 2018, yes, I want to migrate the balances, but no, I don't want to migrate the line items. But starting from 2019, let's say I want to migrate balances also, and I want to migrate line items also. And obviously for 2020, I want to migrate both. Okay, so in order to tell the system that I want to migrate the balances from 2017, okay, line items from 2019, these are the fields which are provided by SAP. So start migrating the balances. From which date we want to start the migrating of balances? From which year we want to start the migration of balances? We want to start from 2017. Okay, you can see here lines no, lines no, balances yes, balances yes. Starting from 2017 for company code 1710, balances would be transferred. Okay, what about the documents? What about the line items? So line items I want from 2019 from the first period. Again, I can tell the system from which period I want to start transferring the balances. So what I'll do is I'll tell the system that the line items are required from 2019 year, okay, and from the first month itself. I want to transfer the data from 2017 onwards, but for year 2017 and 18, I only want to transfer the balances. Starting from 2019 first period, I want to transfer each and every document during the initial load. Okay, and then this period means so what happens is again based on these settings, what will happen is as soon as I have shown you the package. In that package, I have shown you some tables. So let me introduce one table here, which is let me just go to the package and show you. So I'll go to SEAT. Okay, and here, as I told you in the dictionary objects, you'll be able to see different tables. Let's talk about cfin underscore ACCHD table. Now, what exactly is this table? This table is the table which will pick the data from your original SAP tables. Which are original SAP tables? BKPF and BSEC in ECC. So whenever you post any document, the data will go to BKPF and BSEC. And if this company code is relevant for central finance, the copy will be created in CFIN_ACCHD. This is called as a transfer table. Okay, this transfer table means this will hold the data in this temporary tables, and from here system will pick and replicate to the central finance. So this table will hold the data for transfer to the central finance system, which means if I execute this table, it will definitely show me some data which is relevant for the replication, or not only replication, maybe for initial loading also. So based on this table, okay, based on which company code I'm activating, this table will hold the values. Now the question is, these values which are coming in this temporary table should be held for how many days or how many months? Okay, because it is real-time replication, normally as soon as the documents are transferred from here to the central finance, I don't need to come here and see this data. Okay, so that is exactly what you need to specify here. You need to tell the system that how many months you want to keep the data, this temporary data, in the temporary tables. Okay, so normally, as of example, I'm just saying 1, which means it will be only, the data will be only available for 30 days. After the 30 days, system will automatically clear the data which is more than 30 years old, 30 days old, right? Then this is where you will tell the system whether your initial loading exercise has been already completed or not. So this is initial load finished or not. So as of now, we have not done the finish. We have not done the initial load. Once we complete the initial load, because that is one-time activity. Once we are done with the initial load activity, we should come here and we should tell the system that yes, my initial load has been completed now. Okay, and once this is completed, system will not, even in mistakenly, it will not allow you to execute the initial load program once again, because system will tell you initial load has already been completed for this company code. Okay, this is technical. So normally SAP says package size should be 50. So this is like there is going to be huge volume of data which is going to come from all these company codes. So this package size means if the huge amount of data is coming, system will divide them into different packages so that they can be taken one by one. And that is the reason SAP recommends that this package size should be 50. This is completely technical. We don't need to worry as a functional consultant. Okay, and last one is this GL reconciliation. So do you remember yesterday, or sorry, in the last session, we discussed there are 3 different types of interfaces in central finance. Which are those? What are the 3 objects which are replicated? Which are the 3 interfaces? Which are the 3 types of objects which are replicated to S4HANA?
CO object, FI.
Yeah, CO postings, which means secondary postings, FI postings. What else? One last one.
Master data.
Master data means CO objects.
C object. Yeah.
Right? So CO objects means whenever you create a new
CO
cost center. Sorry?
CO assignments, right, Vikram?
No, not assignment. CO objects. CO object means cost centers, internal
order,
orders.
WBS.
Right, exactly. So those are called as
But
CO
wouldn't
objects.
that be part of master data?
Exactly, it is part of CO master data. When we say CO objects, it itself means the CO master data. Okay, so these are the 3 different types of interfaces which are provided by central finance. So it will replicate CO postings, it will replicate FI postings, and it will also replicate CO objects. So normally when we say FI postings, it is not only FI, it is FI CO postings. I'll give the example. If you remember, I told you the CO postings means secondary postings. Okay, secondary postings means allocations, distributions, settlements, okay, whatever you do during the period end, those are the secondary postings. When I say FICO postings, these are FI postings as well as primary CO postings also, right? So if I'm posting a expense line item, and in that line item, if I have a cost center, that will become my primary CO posting, right? So primary CO posting is also happening with FICO postings. And CO object posting is nothing but, as you said, it is a CO master data. So whenever you create a CO master data, again, based on the settings, whether you want to replicate one by one or you want to do one to many, we will discuss it later. So based on that settings, you can replicate the CO objects. Now let's take an example.
Can I ask you one question? Quick question, Vikram.
Yeah, Nikhil, go ahead.
So CO objects. What about GL master data?
That is not required.
Okay.
We will talk about that. Why it is not required.
No problem.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that is something which will be handled through MDG. So not only GL master data, customer master data, vendor master data, there are a lot of many other important things which are provided in the master data section, but those master data things will be handled either through MDG or through just the table. As I told you, there is a table provided in SAP Central Finance which can be utilized for that purpose.
So MDG cannot handle the CO master data, which means, is it?
There is a reason why. So maybe I'll park this question and we will discuss this in later.
Okay. Okay.
Because for that you need to understand what are the different replication or what are the different mapping objects. So MDG and CO object mapping, these are two separate things. So we have to understand both. Then only you'll be able to answer this question, like why CO objects should not use MDG and why MDG should not be used for the CO objects.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is, let's say you have done some FICO posting, okay, which is primary posting. It will generate the CO posting document. Okay, let's assume now, if the posting that you are done is maybe, just for example's sake, it is a cross company code posting. Okay, so you posted a FI document in which there is a FI document which is created in one company code, and then the corresponding document is also created in the second company code. Now, due to some reason, okay, again, this example, don't take it very seriously. I just wanted to, at this moment, I just wanted to explain you this field. Okay, so maybe practically we will see later. But let's assume when you posted this FICO posting, due to some reason, it also triggered in the background a secondary posting. So the question is, this secondary posting should also be included in the same FI posting, or it should be treated as a different posting. If you see this indicator, what it is trying to say is, in this field, you define whether GL reconciliation posting triggered in CO should be replicated to the central finance system during the initial load or not. This tick you only need to make when, this is very important, you should only set this flag if secondary costs are not transferred during initial load. So if you are not planning to include your secondary CO postings in initial load, only in that case you need to tick this indicator. Okay, but it is recommended that even the CO postings, at least for last 1 or 2 years, they should also be part of the initial load. So if you are doing the initial load separately for CO postings, then there is no relevancy of this GL indicator at all. Okay, so as of now, just understand this is related to when I post any FI document, if it also triggers the CO document, whether that CO document should be included in the initial load or it would be automatically included when you do the CO posting. So if it is already included, if you are already doing the CO posting separately, then there is no need to tick this. But if you are planning that, okay, I only want to transfer the FICO related postings as an initial load, in that case, this is definitely required to maintain the consistency.
And this CO, Vikram, this CO is only for the secondary document that are created, or it's included everything on the primary or secondary? Only secondary.
No, primary is anyways part of
the
FICO.
FICO. FICO.
Right.
And this one is only for the secondary.
Exactly. This is only relevant for this particular line item.
Okay. Any allocation and those kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So these are the different fields that are available in CFIN IMG, and when you are trying to customize the central finance source system. Okay, let me tell you once again. So you need to specify for which company code your central finance is active for this particular source system. You need to tell the system which line items and which year balances should be transferred as an initial load. So it is not mandatory that you need to transfer all the balances that you have in ECC system. For example, in this system, 1710 is operational from 2010. But our company has decided that I don't want to take the balances from 2010 to 2016. I only want to take the balances from 2017, and starting from 2019, I want to take line by line. Starting from the first period of 2019, I want to pull line by line in my initial load activity. Okay, and this is how many months are you going to keep the data which is copied in the transfer tables. Okay, so it should be minimum, because anyways it is real-time replication. If you keep it more unnecessarily, it will add more data to your temporary tables. Okay, so it should be 1 according to me, but later on we will see what is the recommendation from SAP. Then it comes to this indicator that we discussed just now. This indicator specifies whether our initial load for this company code has been already completed or not. And last one is a technical thing which tells the system if there is huge amount of data, how much data should be transferred in a package. What should be the package size of each package? If there are, let's say, total amount of data is, let's say, 10,000. So it will divide those 10,000 into 50 packages of 50 items each. Okay, but this is something completely technical. You'll not be able to even see in the background. Okay, any questions on this particular configuration? I'm not saving this anything because I'm not going to show you whatever is already configured. We will see one entire cycle. We will create a company code in the source system and the target system, and we will use our company code instead of something which is already created here. So I just wanted to give you the overview of how exactly these things will work. Once we understood this, we will try to replicate the end-to-end scenario by creating our own company code, creating our own postings, doing the initial load, and then doing the real-time replication.
And Vikram, of course, the source system is non-SAP. So this kind of a setting, somehow, how you manage those kind of a settings?
No, these are only relevant if your source system is ECC.
Agree.
Okay, even if it is R3, yeah, even if it is R3, then also, as we discussed last time, that you need to do some additional settings in the source system. Then you need to apply the SAP nodes, and then only this kind of screen will be available in your R3 system. But if a system is completely non-SAP, then this is not relevant. Then, as we discussed, it will be via the staging tables that needs to be, yeah.
Pretty similar table will gonna be, I mean, pretty similar information will be storing as in the staging table, similar information to that.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
No, staging table is not for the similar information. Staging table is to bring that data from your source system. Let's assume your source system is using, let's say, maybe
Oracle
Tally
entity.
or Oracle, whatever it is. So definitely we don't have this kind of screen available there. So we have to involve our ABAP team so that they can fetch the relevant information. See here, I don't need ABAP because I am telling the system what is my relevant company code, which company code's data I want to bring in my central finance system. But if it is Oracle, then I have to hard code in the code itself which data is relevant from Oracle, which data is relevant from any other third-party system. So that coding has to be done by the ABAP itself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Right?
you.
And once that coding is done, so which means that coding is a substitute of this activity that we are doing. What is the next activity? Based on this settings, whenever the document will be posted, anyway, there is a table which is holding this data. I've shown you in this system itself, there is a table based on this settings, this will hold the data. So this is kind of a staging table, although we are not calling this as a staging table, but this similar kind of staging table will be created for the third-party softwares. Once it is available in some table, then it is a central finance task to push that data to the central finance instance. Got it? So maybe I'll show you the flow, how exactly it will work. Number one, you will set up which data to be replicated. Okay, so if it is SAP system, just now we have seen in this configuration, we can do it very easily. We can tell the system which company codes are intended for central finance, and also from which date onwards the replication settings are active. Second is system will start storing this data in transfer tables. So if it is ECC system, just now we have seen the table is cfin underscore ACC HD. Okay, but if this system is not the SAP system, then definitely instead of cfin underscore ACC HD, the staging tables will be used. Okay, and once the data is available in these tables, then the replication will start pushing the data from transfer or staging tables to cfin. Okay, so ultimately what activity we have done to set up the data to be replicated. So if it is a SAP system, then we will go for cfin IMG, but if it is not SAP system, then there has to be ABAP code, which will, or maybe ABAP code, I mean the technical object, so it is not necessarily, ABAP will be definitely included, but there can be PI or any other interface also, PI, PO interface to pull the data from that particular system. So ultimately, what I mean to say here is, you definitely need a technical help to pick that data from the third-party application, bring it into the staging table. And once it is in the staging table, then this process will remain same. Got it?
Yes, thank you.
So what I was doing is, let me go to this configuration. So as I told you, I'm not going to save anything here. We will start fresh. So this is the activity that you have to do in the source system. Okay, I already told you, just a refresher, 2-3 things that you need to verify. First of all, cfin is available or not. Second is package is available or not. And third, you have to come here and you have to make the settings for your company codes, which are relevant for the central finance replication. Now, the second thing, this is a setting which you need to do in the source system. This is the only setting. If there is anything else, we will talk about it later on. So this is the only setting that you need to do in the source system. Which is the second system in our landscape? We have to do some settings in the source system. We have to do some settings in the, before target. What comes in between?
SLT.
SLT, right? SLT is the second system which is in our landscape. So we need to do some settings in SLT also, although all those settings which are done in SLT are technical. Okay, we don't need to worry about that, but still, because the central finance is a new project, you have to get some idea so that you can troubleshoot instead of completely being dependent on the technical consultants. So that is the reason I'm just giving you the quick overview of how exactly SLT works. Now, do you remember we discussed SLT has 3 deployment options? What were those 3 deployment options of SLT?
Either on the same box, standalone box, or either on the source system or on the central finance system.
Exactly. So SLT can be deployed independently in the standalone system. SLT can be deployed in the source system, or SLT can be deployed in the target system. So let me tell you what exactly has been configured in this system that we are using. In this system, SLT is available in the source system itself. Okay, so this is my source system. Currently, whatever activities I'm doing, these are available in my source system. Now, how will you come to know whether the SLT is available here or not? There is a single transaction that you need to remember called as LTRC. For those of you who took my finance training, you must be already knowing LTMC. LTMC is migration cockpit. Similarly, this is RC. RC is nothing but replication. So LT tool is same, landscape transformation. For migration, cutover migration, we use LTMC. For replication, we use LTRC. Okay, so LTRC is a transaction which is related to all the configurations, all the technical setup which is required for SLT, replication settings. So if I click on LTRC, if I open LTRC, you can see this is a technical thing which your technical consultant must do. So there should be at least one configuration name. I'm not sure about all others. Maybe there are some other activities also being used in this system, but there should be at least one configuration created for central finance replication. I hope this is what is created in our system. I'll just show you how to verify that. So you can see this is something which is running, which means there is no problem. This is configured by your technical consultant. What it is showing is this name and description you can give whatever you want. Okay, so that is not a big deal. You can also create your own mass transfer ID if required. But again, this is something technical, so we should not unnecessarily play with this. Even when I'm going to provide you this server for practice purpose, please don't try to change any standard settings. Otherwise, our life will become very difficult because we don't have the technical team who is going to help us on day-to-day basis. Technical team has already done their job. They are saying that everything is working fine. Now it is our time from the functional point of view to set up all the things. So if someone is playing with the technical stuff and if something goes wrong, we will not be able to replicate the financial data, which will unnecessarily create a problem. So understanding sake, yes, to try to understand what we are discussing. If you want to go to LTRC, go display it, but don't try to change anything in this technical configurations. Okay, so in this one, you can see mass transfer. This is nothing. You don't need to worry about this mass transfer number. It can be generated automatically, or you can provide your own also. Configuration name also you can provide your own. Configuration description also you can provide your own. It will ask you for the scenario. So you can see others are standard replication. So these are not only for, if you remember, I told you this replication is not only for central finance. Replication can be any replication. It can be replicating the data, replicating the SD data. But when we are talking about central finance, we are only replicating the financial data. So the standard replication, we don't need to worry. For us, the replication scenario should be central finance. Do you remember what were the different options in replication scenarios? We discussed standard replication, there was central finance, and then there was the last one was this one, selective data conversion, right? So this central finance scenario is something which is relevant to us. Now, when the technical guy has set up this, he has to tell which is my source system and which is my target system. So in our case, our source system is ECC system and our target system is SAP S/4HANA system. If you want to see those things in detail, let's open this. Okay, and let's go from first tab onwards. Okay, you can see configuration name, configuration description, which was provided. Scenario is central finance. You can see the source system. So before you carry out the functional task, your technical team has to set up the connection between the source system and the target system. If that connection itself is not there, how the data will move? Even if you have worked on IDOC also previously, you must be knowing that if you want to trigger the IDOC, there should be the RFC connection between the two systems. Same way, even in SLT, we need the RFC connection between the source and the target. So what is my source system? You can see source system, this is just a name provided, but in our case, our source system is this one that we are looking at. EPX 1800 client is our source system. You can see the name CFIN ECC1. This is exactly what is specified here that this is our source system. Okay, which is our target system? So let's verify. Let's try to open the target system also. So this is our target system, S/4HANA 2 DV1. Let's see if this is correct. S/4HANA 2 DV1. So this is our target system. This is where your technical team will create a connection between your source and the target. Okay, if this itself is not there, there is no question of SLT, there is no question of replication. Then your two systems are completely independent. Right? So this is one of the very important activity that has to be done by your technical team. Okay, in the processing steps, these are all standard processing steps which are provided by central finance. So as soon as your technical consultant will write this scenario is central finance, system will automatically trigger what are the different activities which will be taken place in the background. So these are the steps which will be performed in the background whenever you want to replicate the data. Okay, so system will create the replication objects. Okay, it will execute the preparatory steps. It will create the logging tables. Okay, it will create the database triggers. What are the database triggers in our case? As soon as the document is posted. Okay, it will create some tables in the background. It will start range calculation, means it will take the data based on whatever range is provided in the initial load, mainly from the initial load point of view. From the real-time replication point of view, it will be done every seconds. Okay, so these are all technical. We don't need to go into details of this. What I mean to say here is just understand that SAP has pre-delivered the replication object. It has to be activated in the transaction code LTRC, and all the steps which are required to be executed in the background are part of this scenario called as central finance. Okay, and what exactly this will do? What exactly this SLT will do? You can see these three interfaces. Okay, so number one is AUFK. AUFK is a cost object. AUFK table, if you go to table AUFK, what exactly is AUFK? You can see order master data. So whatever data will be created. Now, why we are saying cost object order master data? Because production order, maintenance order, internal order, whatever orders you will be creating, it will generate from AUFK. Okay, so as soon as any document is posted in AUFK, system will trigger that. Sorry, as soon as any master data is created in AUFK, it will trigger the posting in the central finance system. Okay, so first one is AUFK. Second one is CFIN underscore ACC HD. This is a financial table. Just now we have seen, right? CFIN underscore ACC HD. Why system is not showing BKPF and BSIG here? Why it is showing CFIN underscore ACC HD? The reason is there are a lot of changes in the financial accounting when it comes to ECC and S4HANA. So if I just ask you the simple question, if I take the data from BSIG, is it enough for me to load into S4HANA AC docket table? Definitely not. There is a lot of change in the structure between BSIG and AC docket. See, when it comes to AUFK, it is the same table in ECC, same table in S4HANA. There is not much change. So even in S4HANA, if you create a order master data, it will still go to AUFK table. If you create a secondary posting, it will still go to COBK table. But when it comes to accounting, when it comes to financial accounting, previously we were using table BKPF, BSIG, FIGL, and all. But now our main table is AC doc A. And that is the reason if you want to replicate the data in AC doc A, then definitely this is an additional table which is created by SAP. CFIN underscore ACC HD, which is nothing but the transfer table we have seen just now. So this is a transfer table. Whatever data is relevant to central finance, that will get copied here, and as soon as the data gets copied here, it will trigger the replication. Okay, so these are the three replication objects, we can say. These are the three tables which will use the replication settings. These are again technical. So in the background, the data will be stored or the, let me just copy this. You'll not be able to see much data here. These are all technical tables which are required from the technical point of view. So if you go back and try to see this table, you can see this is the technical table. It is storing the data of when exactly what document was created. Okay, you can see this is the AUFK table. So which order was created at what timestamp. So this is a triggering point in short. As soon as the data is posted in this table, it will start the replication process. Okay, so these are all technical. We don't need to worry about these tables. I'll tell you from the functionality point of view, as a functional user, what are the reports that we can see instead of going through these tables. Okay, so again, these are the logging tables, and if you go further, just make sure that the triggering status is active. If this triggering status is active, then only the data, as soon as it is posted here in your source system, it will automatically trigger the replication. Okay, then when you do the data transfer, this is a data transfer monitor, which will tell you whether your last data transfer has worked successfully or if there are any errors. So this is kind of a data transfer monitor, application log, load statistics. So whatever you have loaded till now, how many of them are properly loaded, how many of them are in error, those things you can see here. But again, as a functional consultant, I will not come here. I have a separate transaction, although the data will come from here itself, but I will get a much better view. Okay, this is for the technical consultant to check whether my technical object that I created is working fine or not. Okay, and then the expert functions. Again, these are the activities which are part of the processing steps. If you want to modify, if your technical consultant wants to play with the standard delivered object, they can do that by using this expert functions. Okay, so in short, this is a second setting that I've shown you, which is related to the SLT. So we have seen what settings are required in the source system. In the source system, we just need to provide one setting. In the SLT system, there is a transaction LTRC. In LTRC, we normally create the objects which will be responsible to replicate the data in real time. Okay, so LTRC is a single transaction which will help you in configuring most of the setups which are required from the SLT point of view. Any question on LTRC?
And Vikram, this is the place we set up. Either it's gonna be a initial load or it's gonna be a real time.
No, see, it is going to be both. It is not either. It is going to be both. Both or all these objects, whatever we are talking about, this configuration name that we have created, this is responsible for both. Initially, before you start the real-time replication, you have to do the initial load. There is no or option here. You have to do both. And that is the reason, if I go more into technical, so let me open this and let me open, let's say, this table. Just give me a minute. So yeah, data provisioning. Let me open this and go to data provisioning. Not this also, just give me a minute. Table overview, and I just want to show you those programs which are relevant to this. So administrative data, processing steps. Yeah, let's go to this one. Exactly. So you can see these tables. Okay, one is for order master data, second is for your accounting, and third one is for secondary postings. See, there are separate objects. Okay, these three objects are related to initial load, and these three objects are related to replication. Right? So within one object itself, we have two different categories. Okay, so the same application object, what we are looking at is, we are looking at this one, which is, yeah, this one itself, sorry. SLT underscore CFIN. This is the name of a customer name that we created, right? If you see this, SLT underscore CFIN underscore S4 H1909. So this itself got multiple objects. Okay, some objects are relevant to the initial load, and second is related to the replication load.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So processing steps you'll be able to see here. So this is initial load objects and these are replication objects. So whenever you want to do the initial load, these objects will come into the picture. Whenever you want to do the real-time replication, these objects will come into the picture. But there is no either or in any project. Whenever you go for central finance implementation, you have to start before the first transaction is posted and replicated in real time. You have to perform the initial load. Okay, so initial load and then replication. It is not either or, it has to be done both. Initial load is only one-time activity, replication is real-time activity which will be done billions times in a day. As soon as a document is posted, the replication object will take that and post into the central finance. Okay, so just make sure that LTRC is active and just make sure there is one entry at least with this scenario central finance and it is green. And if you go inside, just make sure that all these three objects are included. Okay, so if these are not there, then definitely your technical configuration is still not done, which may create the problems when you try to replicate the data. Okay, so this is the configuration that you need from the SLT point of view. Now, what is our third system? Our third system is the target system. Yeah.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
That how it is decided that SLT is loaded on source system or it's an independent system or it's on target system? It is by
So that is the option provided by SAP that it can be deployed either in source or in the standalone system or the central finance system. We have discussed the advantages and disadvantages of all those three things. So based on those advantages and disadvantages, company will decide whether they want to go for the SLT in the source or the target or the standalone.
Yeah, that I understood. But I'm asking that how it is came here, like on source system, through batches or?
You have to check with your technical consultant. So in my case, I contacted the one vendor who has provided me this server. I verified these things where exactly the SLT is installed. And that is the reason if SLT is not installed here, LTRC will not work.
Okay.
Yeah, that you have to verify with your technical team, like what is a landscape. So whether the SLT is deployed in your source or in the target, and based on that itself, you can, if you, before going to the technical team, if you want to try it on your own, you can just try transaction LTRC and see if it is working. Most probably it is installed in that system itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now coming to the third part, which is what are the settings required in the target environment. So in the target, there are a lot of settings and we cannot complete everything at once. I'll just give you the overview as of now. We have to see one by one. So there will be multiple sessions required in order to understand the settings which are required from the target system point of view. Okay, so this is our target system.
These are functional or these are again technical settings from the target, right?
Both are there, Nikhil. Okay. There are some technical, there are some functional settings. We will have the overview of all, but later on we will be doing functional things in detail. Okay, so for the technical settings, for the settings that you need to carry out in your target system, again you can use transaction CFIN IMG. Okay, but in this case you can see it is not only showing you what has been shown in ECC. In ECC only this general replication settings was applicable, but here you can see I'm able to see a lot of other things also. So this will be the option that will be only available in your central finance system. Obviously this target system settings will not be shown. Even if you apply all SAP nodes, it will never show you in the ECC system, because your ECC system cannot be the target system. It can be only the source system. And within the source system, again, if I compare this activity with ECC, I can see a lot of new options. I can see settings for central payment, settings for profit center accounting, settings for COGS split. Okay, so these are advanced topics we will discuss later on, but just remember that if your source system is if your source system is S4HANA, this activity I need to perform only when this is my source system. Which one? This one. S4HANA 2 is my source system. Then only I need to go into this node. But in my case, my target system is this particular system that we are discussing. So all the activities related to target system are relevant as far as this SAP S4HANA 2 system is my target system. Okay, but as I told you, what will happen if this is my source system? If this is my source system, then only I'll go to this particular node. And since my source system is already on S4HANA, it provides me more features. If my source system is non-SAP S4HANA, then definitely all these options are not applicable there because they are not supported in the older versions. Okay, we will understand. These are advanced topics which we need to understand. What is central payment? What is COGS split? We'll talk about that. But as of now, let's concentrate on as the target system, what are the settings that I need to perform? So for that, I will have to go to central finance target system settings. Now in this one, as Nikhil asked, whether it is a technical or functional, you can see by the name itself, there are some technical activities and there are some functional activities. Okay, so for example, setting up the systems. It will ask you for RFC connections, it will ask you for AIF runtime monitor. There are a lot of all these settings are technical, right? So these settings will be managed by the technical consultant. When it comes to the functional one, this is our responsibility, mapping. So if company code 1000 is posting in ECC, and if I want to map that company code to 2000, that is exactly what I need to do the mapping here. If my customer number in ECC system is 1, and when it comes to S4HANA, I want to change it to 10, that is a mapping that I have to do, that customer number 1 in my ECC system is assigned to customer number 10 in S4HANA system. So that is exactly what is mapping. So these are the mappings that we have to provide here in this node. Once the mapping is completed, there are some other, as I told you, for example, you can see central payment, you can see profit center accounting, you can see cost estimate. So these are the advanced scenarios. But before that, importantly, initial load. So these are the configurations that are required for the initial load point of view. Okay, so you can see initial load settings. What are the initial load preparations for the management accounting, which means secondary postings? What are the initial load execution for the FI postings? So those things are configured in these nodes. Okay, so this is my target system configuration. As I told you, in our target system, there are a lot of configurations. Let's go through one by one. So first of all, it is very important whenever you are working in the central finance project or any even in S4HANA project, see, this is a developing product. You can see every now and then there are some new functionalities which are coming up within S4HANA in each version. So 1909 now SAP will come with 2009. So I'm not saying 100% there will be changes, but there can be some minor changes. Okay, so this documentation will help you to identify. In this one, they are not mentioned in detail because central finance, if you compare 1709, 1809, 1909, there is not much change. But when it comes to many changes, what this documentation tells you is it will tell you to go through a particular SAP note and verify that information. Just go through that information which is relevant to your version. Okay, in this one, it is very straightforward. It is just saying you that in this activities, you will be making the settings that are relevant if this system is a target system, which is a case. In our case, this system is our target system. Okay, if this system is your source system, then you have to carry out the activities in central finance source system settings. You don't need to come here in the target system settings. Okay, so this is only relevant if this system is source. This is only relevant if this system is a target system. When you come to set up the systems, as I told you, these are all the activities that are technical, but let's try to understand. So activate a business function. This business function is mandatory. If you want to use central finance, make sure that this business function is active. Okay, how you activate the business function? You go to transaction switch framework, which is SFW5. This is the transaction code in which you will be able to verify whether this business function is active in your case or not. So if this business function is not active, again, your target system will not work. Continue. Okay, and you will go to enterprise business functions and just check that business function is active or not. So what was the business function name? FINS underscore CFIN. You can see this FINS underscore CFIN. This yellow means it is active. You can see business function will remain activated and it was activated on this date. Okay, so this business function is already active. You have to verify this whether this has been activated or not. So our first check is performed. We can go to the next one. Now configuring the error handling. If you remember, let me take you to the PPT. Yeah, if you remember, I told you that whenever the replication takes place, if there is any problem, okay, let's take an example that there is a customer invoice and that customer is not mapped to the target customer, then what will happen? That transaction will reside in the error. So in order to see what are the different errors, in order to set up this error correction and suspense accounting system, we need to perform some configurations here. Okay, you can see these are the configurations which are required for the error handling. So in the documentation, SAP has provided that which are the configurations you must do. Again, these are all technical settings. Just make sure that you can see, for example, if I go to this transaction. Okay, so step by step, you need to follow it. Normally, this AIF transactions requires additional /n. Okay, it is clearly saying go to this transaction and then what should be done? Go to this transaction and go for namespace fincf /fincf. Okay, let's try to do this. Enter. It is saying, oh sorry, it is asking for username, not the. So username, my user ID, which I'm using is this one. I'll just enter my username. And you can see I assigned my user ID to this namespace. Okay, this is the activity that you also need to do, because whenever any error occurs, there is a transaction code where I can go and monitor the errors. The transaction code is /n. Again, as I told you, this is required for any AIF related transactions. IF monitor, which is interface monitor. Okay, so this interface monitor will show you the log of each and every replication that has taken place. Okay, you can see the replication related to accounting document. You can see the replication related to controlling document. you can see the replication object related to the cost object, right? So for example, if I want to see what errors has encountered, you can see there are around 44 documents in errors. Okay, if I open a particular document, I'll be able to see it is saying no log found. Okay, let's try another one. It was showing the logs till now. Maybe these are very old and they are already deleted. Yeah, it is showing here. So previous ones are deleted. It is only showing the latest one. So you can see these are the errors. So value, this one of type general ledger account in field. So GL account mapping is a problem here. Okay, so these errors you will be only able to see in this transaction. If you come to this transaction, my user ID is assigned. My user ID is assigned to this monitor. That is the reason I'm able to see all these things. If I remove my user ID from here, okay, if I say in my user ID I don't want to see any AIF related transactions, and if I click on save, and if I go back to the interface monitor and just try to refresh it, it will not show me any errors. See, there is no namespace assigned to my ID, and that is the reason I'll not be able to see any error which is coming in the background. So your user ID should be assigned as a recipient. You are a recipient of this error messages. Your user ID should be assigned to the namespace which is relevant to central finance. Okay, let's do it once again. So this is a standard namespace which is provided by SAP/FinCF, central finance, recipient of the alert. So this is the, you can just follow this, whatever is explained here in the performance assistant. You can see recipient of the alert is CFIN recipient, and then tick on application error or technical error. So if you are a application side means if you are a functional consultant, if the error is related to the functional thing and you want to see that, you can go for the functional tick. If you want to see the error which is related to the technical side, if you are a technical consultant, then you will tick this one. Okay, so this is application and this is technical. So if you tick this both, then you will be able to see both the errors. Okay, here also you can see application error or technical error. You want to see only successes or only warnings or everything you can specify here. So for example, if I want to see the success ones, let's try to save it and try to again go to interface monitor. See, now it is only showing me, it is actually showing all, but it is also including the success ones. So there are, because this interface is related to success as well as errors, it is showing everything. Okay, so in short, your user ID must be assigned to this interface in order to get these values. If this interface is not connected, then you will not be able to see anything in the AIF monitor. Okay, so now since we started the AIF topic, let's go in the detail and understand what exactly is AIF. So let me start the explaining you from the slides. What exactly is AIF? It stands for Application Interface Framework. Okay, you can see it is SAP Application Interface Framework. It is a framework for interface implementation and error monitoring. So in short, you just remember that whatever errors will appear here, whatever error corrections you need to perform, this is done at the AIF layer. Okay, so you need the AIF access in order to see these errors, and you can solve the errors when you find out what exactly is wrong. Okay, so it provides you the selection screen based on different parameters you can specify. So currently in our case, only one interface is assigned to our user. That is the reason we are only able to see single interface. But within that, we can go with the document number. So again, Central Finance uses how many interfaces? It uses 3 main interfaces for cost object replication, FICO posting, and CO internal postings replication. Okay, we have seen that. So if you see here, there are at least 3 replication objects relevant to central finance. Number one is this accounting document, number two is this controlling document, and number three is this cost object replication object. Clear? More details about AIF. It is a single place for error handling of all central finance replication scenarios. Okay, any error you will be able to see in the AIF monitor. Role-based overview. So if you are a functional consultant, as I told you, I can provide you the access to the functional errors. If you are a technical, I'll provide you the error access to the technical related errors. User can toggle email notifications. So if your administrator has provided that, it will also trigger an email if a particular document is residing in error. System should automatically trigger an email that this document has been posted in the source system, but while replicating, it resulted into error. So you can do that also. Okay, and these are the three: AC underscore DOC1, CO underscore DOC1, and CO underscore. These are standard delivered, but we can create our own. So you can see our technical consultant has created a copy of this. AC underscore DOC1 is a standard one. This guy has created AC underscore DOC/2. Similarly, CO underscore DOC, he has not created a copy here. It is being used as a standard one. And you can see CO underscore OBJ/1. That is exactly the object which is related to cost objects. So all AIF shows multiple errors, not just the main message. Okay, so it is showing you everything. So if I open this particular one, it is giving you all the details, what is going wrong. What you can do is field names can be shown with own text, messages can be rephrased if the message text is. So these are all additional things which you can use. Messages can be assigned to SAP transaction codes, which allows users to navigate to the place where the error can be resolved. Yes. Even if your technical consultant has allowed you, you can directly from here itself, you can go to that transaction and you can solve that error here itself. Okay, that totally depends upon whether it is allowed by your technical consultant or not. You can see it is clearly showing you which GL account is creating a problem. Okay, so you can see this mappings, whether the problem is related to customer or it is related to vendor or it is related to GL account or group account. Everything has been provided here. Okay, so if it is supported, you can directly go from here itself, and even you can, if you want to replace this GL account with the another one in order to process this posting, you can change it here and system will allow you to proceed. Okay, but these are the technical things we will discuss later on. As of now, just understand this AIF itself is a single place where you will be able to perform all the error related activities you can see, and you can make the changes if required. Okay, for example, emergency correction mode. This is something called as emergency correction mode that I shown you. So what we are doing is, what will happen if the error occurs? Let's assume you are trying to replicate the data from this system to this system and there is some error. So what the system will do? It will definitely stop here itself in the error correction and suspense accounting. Now I will go to this AIF monitor and I have two choices. Number one, if I know the error, let's say if it is related to the GL account mapping is not properly done. So what I'll do, maybe I'll go to the business mapping, I will rectify that configuration and I will restart that replication. So this is the first option. Option number one is make the necessary corrections and then restart the replication. This is the preferred one. But sometimes in the emergencies, okay, let's say I want to post this document now itself and I don't know what exactly the mapping. So as of now, I just want to post it. So what I'll do is I will directly come here and I will directly change the value in the runtime itself. Okay, that is exactly what is explained here. During the emergencies, if the emergency correction mode, which requires special authorizations, means that the posting data fields can be corrected by entering the correct value. That is exactly what you will do here itself. So instead of mapping this, going to the mapping tables, you can tell the system, okay, I'll do it later on. But currently, my priority is to post this. So I'll update the correct GL account and I will post this posting.
So AIF does not have a functionality to automatically update the mapping if I change it here?
No, it will not automatically update. That is wrong, no?
Well, no, what I'm saying is error handling is a tool, right? Error handling and managing the error handle. So we know that the correct account is this one, and so mapping is incorrect. So if I change it here, I'm not expecting this thing to be updated in the data mapping as well after correcting it.
No, exactly. The thing is, this error correction, the AIF monitor that you are able to see, this is mainly for it can be for their different users. There can be different users who are responsible for mapping, and there can be the separate team who is responsible for error monitoring, right? So that will be wrong. If I change it here and if it changes my mapping tables, that may create a problem. We want to keep these two things separate.
Okay.
Only thing is, if it is emergency, you can change it and you can post this document, but this will definitely not change the mappings which are already predefined in the configurations. Okay, what else is in AIF for our interest? Yeah, I think we understood AIF now. And I think we already discussed this. Let's try to summarize this. So we have a source system, we have a SLT server, and we have a central finance system. Just now I told you, you can see these are my cost objects. In my source system, which table is storing the cost object? It is AUFK. Now, as soon as the document is posted in AUFK, see this blue line. This blue line is immediately going to cost object replication. These are my 3 replication objects. So as soon as the document is posted in AUFK, this blue line is picking this data from here. It is going through the cost object replication maintained in the LTRC configuration, and it is updating in the central finance object interface, and ultimately it is going and residing in the cost object AUFK, right? But when it comes to FI, as I told you, in FI the problem is our old tables and new tables in S4HANA are completely different, and that is the reason you can see there is no such blue line flowing from BKPF and BSIG. There is no such blue line flowing from BKPF and BSIG. Instead, whenever you post a FI document, system is creating this line items in this additional tables. These are the additional tables which are only required from the financial point of view. We don't need the additional tables for CO. You can see CO BK is also taking the green line, blue line, which means as soon as the document is posted in CO BK, it is flowing through this CO internal postings to the central finance system. But when it comes to finance, it is not directly from BKPF and BSEC. Instead, there is a separate set of table required, and this will be available as soon as you implement those SAP nodes. So as soon as the document is posted here, it is getting replicated, and it is replicating via FICO interface to AC docket table, universal journal entry. Okay, you understood this? This is very important. So someone in the interview, if he is asking you, what is a table which will hold the data in my source system, which is relevant to the FICO postings that I want to replicate? The answer is not BKPF and BSIG. The answer is for financial postings, it triggers a separate table altogether. But if it is your CO object, the same table which holds the data of the cost objects AUFK, similarly for costing also, for controlling postings also, it will get the data from COBK and COEP, which are the basic controlling tables. Okay, so this one is something which we need to discuss in detail. What we discussed till now, what are the different steps which are performed in the background in order to replicate the values. So number one, maybe instead of showing this one, I want to show you first in the practical and then I'll come to this slide. Let me see if there is anything else which I can show you now. So coming to the question which Nikhil asked, that can I do the CO mapping, CO object mapping through MDG? So normally these are the different tools which are provided for mappings. Number one, you can use MDG. Number two, again MDG, but this is ID mapping and this is value mapping. I'll tell you what is the difference. And number three is cost object mapping framework. So for AUFK, we don't use MDG. For AUFK cost object related mappings, we use cost object mapping framework. But for the other postings, FICO postings and the CO internal postings, we use MDG. Okay, when we use MDG, there are two mappings, two kind of mappings. One is ID mapping and second is value mapping. Let me show you where exactly you will be able to see these things in the system and how to configure those. So this one I'll do in the target system. I think this is target. Yes. If you want to go for CFIN IMG, that is also fine. And this same CFIN IMG is part of financial accounting, central finance. Okay, within this also you are able to see these two nodes. So when you go for CFIN IMG, it will directly open this. But if you want to come through the SPRO, you can do that also. This will not work in source system. In source system, you will not be able to see central finance folder under financial accounting. You have to go to CFIN IMG only. Okay, so when it comes to the target system, this is the mapping that we are talking about now. Okay, in this mappings, there are two types. You can see key mapping and you can see value mapping. What is the difference? What is the key mapping and what is the value mapping? So let's take this example. See, here, most of the activities are related to master data. These are not enterprise structure related things. Maybe I'll show you one example. Let's go in this way. Maintain the value mappings. You can see what are my value mappings. Maybe I'll do one thing first. This will take you to BRF plus. That is fine. Yeah, this one. So these are the different objects that you need to map. Right? Whenever you want to use central finance, in the central finance, you have to do the mapping from the source system to the target system. So what are those objects? What are those values that you need to map? Obviously, you need to map the company code. You can see company code. You need to map the purchase organization. You need to map the sales organization. Let's assume you are trying to replicate a financial document. When it comes to central finance, we are more bothered about the financial objects. So what are the different objects that you need to, what are the different mappings you need to do? So first of all, you may have a company code. Let's try to open a financial document and see what different mappings may be required. Sorry, FP50. Okay, so first thing is you need a company code. So which company code in source system will be assigned to which company code in the target system? That is a mapping you have to do. Number two, you may need to do the mapping for the document type. Okay, it is not appearing here because it is hidden in the editing objects. If I want, I can bring it here. Okay, you can see the document type. If I want to map a document type in the source system to the document type in the target system. Similarly, if I want to map a GL account in the source system to the target system. If I want to map the tax code from the source system to the target system. If I want to map cost center, cost objects, whatever different cost objects are available here. So for all those things, you can see this is the mapping tool. Okay, you can see these are all the different kinds of mappings that you can do. Document type mapping, planning profile mapping, order type mapping, posting key mapping, company code, company ID, which is trading partner, cost center, cost element, customer, payment method. You can see these are the different mappings that you need to create. So the overall, you can see there are 106 mappings which are provided by SAP. These are the 106 different objects which is related not only to central finance, related to, or instead of central finance, I should say, not only related to finance, but also related to the logistics components and other add-on components. So out of this, which are relevant to us, what we need to do is, for example, if I want to have a company code. Now, the thing is, what I need to tell the system is how the company code mapping will be done. So I'll come here and I'll tell the system, if my source system is this one, if the data is coming from this ERP system, then mapping is obligatory, which means if this mapping is not done, let's say you are trying to post a document in ECC with company code 1710, and this 1710 is not assigned to the target company code. What will happen? That document will go into error. On the other hand, if I want to tell the system that there is no need to do the company code mapping because company code in my source system and target system is same, so I can say keep data. Keep data means if my company code in the source system is 1710 and in the target system also I have a same company code, then I don't need to unnecessarily create a mapping table. I will say keep data, which means system will just take the same company code which is there in the source system and it will post in the target system. Number 3 is map if possible, which means if system is able to get a mapping, if a system is able to find 1710 company code is assigned to which company code, fine. If the system is not able to find, then it will try to post with the same company code. So that is map if possible. So system will try if there is a mapping available with 1710 or not. If it is not available in the target system also, it will try to post in 1710 itself. As long as 1710 is available, system will go ahead and make the posting. If the 1710 is not available, then only it will run the error. It will give the error. And last one is clear data. For some of the transactions or some of the objects, you don't want to keep the data at all. For example, non-mandatory data. For example, I don't want to use costing. Just for example, I don't want to use cost center accounting in S4HANA. So even though in my ECC system, I have a cost center, but when it is reflecting to S4HANA, that cost center field is blank. So I'm clearing that data. Okay, this is just for example. Normally we don't delete the cost center information, but yes, if possible, if there is a requirement that you want to delete some of the data which is coming from the source system, we can do that by clearing the data.
So Vikram, just a question.
Okay,
Do you have any?
Sorry.
Vikram, can you just a question regarding the if available? What is the business scenario we have that where we need to use that one?
Sorry, not able to hear you clearly. Can you come again?
Is it okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm asking is, you were showing the option about keep if available, then do the mapping, something like that, right? Third option, second or third option, I forgot. But so when we use actually in that, because in this I'm seeing that this is optional basically. If available, do it. If not available, don't do it.
Yeah, I'll show you example.
Okay.
See, I have. Let me close this. What is this now? Okay, let's take an example. This is my source. Let's assume this is ECC. Okay, this is my target, which is S4. Now I'm mapping the company codes. I'm doing the company code mapping. Okay, I have a company code 1000. I need to map this to 1000. I have a company code 2000. I need to map it to 2000. I have a company code 3000, but I don't want to map it to the 3000. Maybe 3000 is already reserved here. I don't want to use 3000. I want to map it to 4000. Now in this particular case, if I go for mapping obligatory, if I go to company code and then if I tell the system mapping is obligatory, then even I need to enter these two lines, 1000 to 1000 and 2000 to 2000. Okay, but in this example, I have only 3 line items. Let's assume I have thousands of company codes which are coming from different systems. And I don't want to map this because this is already known factor. If I'm not maintaining this, system will automatically go in the same company code and post it. So what I'll do is, instead of going with mapping obligatory, what I'll do is map if possible. If I say map if possible, what will happen is when the system will try to post for company code 1000, let's assume I deleted this. I have not mapped this in the system. Okay, so when the system will try to find this combination for 1000, system will not be able to find anything. So normally it should give error because it is not able to find the target company code. But what it will try to do is it will try to use the same company code and try to post in the company code 1000 itself if the mapping is not available. If the mapping is available, it will take this value. If the mapping is not available, it will take the same value as the source system.
That makes sense. Basically, similar as a payment term or payment method, wherever these two
Yes,
things are similar, you just can make it
exactly.
optional. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I think we discussed a lot of things today. So if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Not related to this, but do you know when we expect that system access so we can play around?
I can provide you today itself, but do you think that this is the right time? Because we are still not. If you want, I can give it from today itself. That is not a problem for me.
No, but whatever everyone agree on that. There's no rush. I was just more curious though.
I think it would be good if I give you by end of this week, which means Wednesday, Thursday, we will be able to till Thursday we'll be able to cover many things. So at least from the Thursday onwards, you can start doing this.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And Vikram, so we are also for all this now, of course, we need to have like at least the bare minimum or the FI configuration in the sources in the target system as well, right?
Definitely, that is the reason I told you we have to configure one
Correct.
company code in the source, at least one company code in the target. Then only
Right.
we'll be able to see the report.
So there is basically
yeah, if you want, you can also use the standard company codes which are available, but that will not give you the clear idea.
Correct. So it makes sense for you to give the access little later after you complete that part.
Exactly. That is the reason I told you that at this moment it is just the visibility. You will go and see, okay, these are the settings. We have not done anything new till now.
And I am a little unclear about the value ID and key mapping.
No, that we have not discussed till now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I told you there are two options when it comes to mapping. So mainly it is the configuration mapping versus the master data mapping. There are two mappings. One is related to the configuration mapping. For example, company code to company code, purchasing org to purchasing org. And second is the mapping of the master data, GL account to GL account, cost center to cost center. That is a separate mapping.
So that's like the key ID is like enterprise mapping at the enterprise structure level.
Exactly. Yes.
So enterprise structure is not a company code, is not an enterprise structure.
It's part
is.
of enterprise.
So
It is.
then I'm little confused. So we have two kinds of a mapping. One is key mapping, and the other one is value mapping. So what is the
Let me
difference?
show you. So I will discuss this in detail tomorrow, but just let me
Oh,
give
okay.
the.
I can wait, Vikram. I mean, I don't want to hijack this session though. Carry on whatever you are doing it.
I'll just try to clear your doubt so that your mind is very much clear. So you can see key mapping and value mapping. Okay. Now let me just take you to this documentation. So you can see these are the objects which are part of the key mapping. Okay, for example, company, cost center, cost element, customer. These are just the example sake, right? Profit center, general ledger account. And what comes under the value mapping? So if you go to the value mapping settings, maybe instead of this, I should open this one. Yeah, you can see accounting principles. So this is, you can see these are all related to the configurations. Accounting principle, document type, posting key, company code, payment method, ledger group, all these are mainly configurations, right? So this will come under the value mappings, configurations, and key mapping is master data. Most of the time it will be master data.
Oh, okay. I thought
If
it
you
was
see,
the other way around. Okay, got it.
Got it.
yeah, you
Got
can
it.
see
Yeah,
customer,
the
you
name
can see cost
confused. The
center.
name confused.
Yeah. So key and values you need to remember.
Okay.
And even the maintenance is different. This key mapping is maintained using BRF plus application. So tomorrow I'll introduce what exactly is BRF plus also. So the key mapping is done using BRF plus, while for value mapping, it is a straightforward configuration which we need to do. Okay, anything else?
No, it's good.
Okay, then if no questions, we can close today and we'll meet tomorrow with, we will try to do this mappings tomorrow.
Thanks, Vikram.
Okay, but before that, I think instead of explaining you the mappings, maybe what we will do is we will try to create our own company code also in tomorrow's session itself, so that we should, instead of just looking at the mapping which is already delivered, we'll be able to start our own mappings itself.
Sounds good.
Okay, then. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.